Ophiocordyceps Sinensis, or Tibet's Yartsa Gunbu. What is it? Commonly referred to as caterpillar fungus in English. Ophiocordyceps Sinensis is a fungus which parasitizes the larva of several Himalayan ghost moth species. Its Chinese name is Dongchong Xiezao, and its Tibetan name is Yartsa Gunbu. Both these names literally translate to winterworm summer grass. Now this moniker comes from the life cycle of the fungus. In the winter, the larva of the ghost moth is infected by the spores of the fungus. The fungus then grows inside of it, and in summer, late spring, summer, the stroma or fruiting body of the fungus emerges from the ground and is sort of camouflaged as a grass. Here you can see how difficult it can be to see the stroma of the Yartsa Gunbu sometimes. So its distribution is primarily throughout eastern Tibet. Fortunately for me, that's where we did most of our research in this region here. It is also good to note that the range actually stretches along the north side of the Himalayas all the way to about north of the country of Bhutan. So Yartsa Gunbu has been historically used as a medicine for centuries. In both Tibetan and Chinese traditional medicine, it is used as a sort of cure-all. It's good for just about everything: lungs, liver, kidneys, erectile dysfunction, anti-aging, anti-cancer. It's even considered to be an aphrodisiac. It can be taken in many ways as well. It's eaten fresh or dried, pressed into a powder, steeped into water to make a tea, or as you can see here, soaked in liquor to make a sort of tonic. In recent decades, with the opening up of Tibet and with rising wealth and income in China, demand of Yartsa Gunbu in China has increased greatly. You can see ads like this billboard, which I found in Xining, or this, which was on the backside of my sleeper car pass between Lhasa and the train between Lhasa and Xining. You can find stuff like this everywhere. It shows how prevalent this product is throughout the area. Outside of China and Eastern Asia, you can often find it like this in sort of powdered capsule form. This, however, is not as popular in China and Eastern Asia where it's regularly consumed because it's considered to be a lower quality. It's not, in fact, the whole caterpillar and fungus combination, but the fungus that has been grown on grains and then powdered. So what's the problem with all this? Over-harvesting, as I told you, the demand for Yartsa Gunbu has increased exponentially in recent decades. The economy for it is so great that many Tibetan nomads search for it to subsidize their living. Some even completely get their income for the entire year off the short harvesting season, off from about late May to early August. So really what I wanted to find out was that indeed there was a decrease in population size due to this over-harvesting. So my methodology. During my time in Tibet, I surveyed pharmacies, I surveyed prices, I interviewed merchants, gatherers, and even a doctor at one point. So the first place I was really able to find Yartsa Gunbu was in Lhasa, the capital city of Tibet. Here there was a very distinct three-tier system of bringing the Yartsa Gunbu to market. And the first part of this system was the Tibetan nomad, who would come into town with his bag or his box full of fungus and sell it on the streets to Hui merchants, such as this man here. This Yartsa Gunbu was often unclean and unsorted. The Hui, who are an ethnically Chinese Muslim minority, would then take the Yartsa Gunbu they purchased from the nomads, clean them, and sort them. They act as sort of the wholesalers in all of this. Hui, primarily, I found Hui pharmacies primarily around survey, I counted 90 pharmacies selling Yartsa Gunbu within one block of this mosque. Pharmacies such as this, the China and Tibetan Caterpillar Fungus Sales Center can be found in this area. This sign is very interesting in that not only is it geared towards the Tibetan and Chinese residents as well as tourists, but also English-speaking tourists, as the name is in English as well. Even if the pharmacies do not have fancy signs such as that, you can often tell if they sell Yartsa Gunbu by the presence of these large wicker trays that are used for drying and sorting and cleaning of Yartsa Gunbu. The third tier on the system is the Han. These are the retail merchants of Yartsa Gunbu. They will often buy the cleaned and sorted Yartsa Gunbu from the Hui merchants and then sell them at a much higher price. I believe the lowest price I found from a Hui was about 7 yuan, about $12 for a gram of Yartsa Gunbu, and these were often around 100 to 300 yuan, so about $20 at the high end for a gram. Stores like this were common along the main shopping district where most of the Han pharmacies were found. You can see how elegant these are with the marble walls, gold letters, large statues of Yartsa Gunbu. Very prevalent. This is a very important part of their industry. Oftentimes you can see here that they have these glass counters where most of the merchandise was carried, but instead the Yartsa Gunbu would be in these large bell jars that would be placed atop the counters and sorted towards the front of the store, very much on display. Outside of the small town of Sershul, we were fortunate to meet this family of nomads up on a mountainside who were gathering for Yartsa Gunbu. Here, we all sort of got the experience of trying to find Yartsa Gunbu in the wild. We all realized very quickly that it was very difficult to actually find these. They're only about an inch out of the ground, small black sticks. And none of us found any, but I was able to purchase some directly from these nomads. I purchased my first Yartsa Gunbu here for 30 yuan, about $4.80. In the town of Sershul, which is a very small monastery town, as you've heard from other people, it was easy to find where these nomads would bring their harvested Yartsa Gunbu for sale. Here in the town center, which was several basketball courts stacked end to end, you would often find several people with shoe boxes and bags of Yartsa Gunbu, such as this, buying, selling, and trading to each other. So here it was about the same price, about 30 yuan, about $4.8 per. Though I did meet one man who told me that if I had bought in bulk, he would have actually sold it to me for 25 yuan, so a little bit less there. Outside of the county seat of Sershul, we ran into this family of nomads. We originally stopped to speak with them, hoping that we could talk with them about their yaks. It ended up turning out that they, in fact, did not own any yaks. They were merely helping family members move their yaks. They survived entirely off the annual Yartsa Gunbu harvest. The father told us that he had been planning on using the proceeds of this year's harvest to build a permanent home for his family. Unfortunately, I was told that this year the harvest was so poor, he not only could not build the house he had been planning on, but in fact was having to look into work in construction to support his family. In the small river valley city of Derge, I was fortunate to find a traditional Tibetan hospital. Here I spoke with this doctor who told me many things about his feelings towards Yartsa Gunbu. He told me how he would prescribe it, as I've told you already, what he would use it for. He told me that it's in fact a very slow working medicine, so you have to use it for a long period of time in order for it to do any good for you. He also told me about many concerns he had. He felt that, like many Tibetans, because of prices from outside forces, namely China, he, as well as other Tibetans, could not afford to purchase it. The price had been driven up too high. He also felt that many Chinese were misusing the Yartsa Gunbu that they were buying, as it is seen as a status symbol in China to be able to purchase this. Often they take it while they're perfectly healthy, and he told me that this does no good. He also told me that he felt if something was not done in the next several years, that possibly the Yartsa Gunbu would go extinct on the Tibetan plateau. The population numbers were dropping, and that he was hopeful that soon somebody would begin farming it to relieve the wild population. So my results. It was fairly evident that indeed the Yartsa Gunbu population on the Tibetan plateau is in decline. Whether or not it is solely due to the harvesting practices by the Tibetan nomads it's too early to tell, but as one family nomads, that first family that we met on the mountainside, told me, even last year they were able to often find 50 to 60 Yartsa Gunbu per day, whereas this year it was down to about 20, 30 per day. So my conclusion, it is fairly evident that something needs to be done to stem the tide, whether it's change in social look on Yartsa Gunbu from those who consume it most, namely the Chinese, whether it's sustainable education towards the Tibetan nomads who are harvesting it, or whether it's legislation that puts and enforces a defined harvesting season and protects certain populations. These would all be very good things to implement to save Yartsa Gunbu in Tibet.